Hey, hello everybody. It is Operation Thunderhead, day 16, and we had a damn near perfect day. Got all three work sessions in, and it was really good. I was actually really excited because I was reading volume 4, and I realized like by the time I got over to volume 4, because the first year of writing, I wrote volume 1, 2, and 3 of The Girl and the Beast, right? And I only got halfway through volume 3, so like the latter half of volume 3 was done later, but volume 4 was definitely more recent. I think I did volume 4 in 2018. I'm pretty sure 2018. And so I jumped into it, so that's years after I've started writing, right? And I've already gone through a couple books. And I'm pretty sure at the beginning of 2018 or the beginning of 2019 was when I finished Tracy Thatcher. But yeah, I was reading it and it was a way better than like the corrections I had to make through like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. Like I was doing a lot of corrections making them better, and like I really like volumes 1 through 3. I really enjoyed them. I think 3 especially. I did a rewrite later this year, and in my second rewrite I overhauled a lot of it. And I had moments where I was really surprised at how good it was. But what was interesting was that I thought Volume 4 was going to be this major rewrite catastrophe. And I thought, oh man, like it's not going to be very good. Just the way I was thinking about it in my head. And then I was rereading it and I was like, oh, like golly, this is like actually pretty good. And I was pretty surprised actually, like how well the story flowed, like how well the beats hit. And I realized, okay, like by the time I wrote this, I actually had kind of come into my own as a writer. And because I was just thinking like this is a first draft, this is going to be garbage, and I was re-going. I'm reading through it now. I haven't necessarily done my second draft run through because I'm still going to restructure the story differently because I have different story objectives. But like as for the actual writing itself, I was actually okay with it. I was like, and it was funny because I remember writing at volume 4. I think in particular was really hard. 2018 was a really hard year, um, and it was very spotty on and off. Um, but I thought it was gonna be trash and it wasn't. So I was really surprised. Like I've been really surprised that I'm reading it, and like I read through the first half of it, and I was like, yeah, I would read this. I'm like, this is something that I would want to read, and that was really encouraging. It felt me like okay, like maybe I actually like okay as an author. I realized like I'm not doing anything great or stupendous, but it was crazy to kind of see like oh okay, I have taken some major leaps. There's a lot of mistakes like in my formatting, the changes, a lot of different things that have sort of been shored up, and I feel more confident about it, and I feel good. I feel really good and positive about that, and it was it was a good thing. I still have no idea how I'm going to build myself and become more. I I have to kind of go through the Boss Graham Academy thing. I bought it from Vanessa Lau, and I was a little scared to do it. I bought it and I'm kind of like just letting the heat off, but I'm definitely feeling more reinvigorated, and like the idea and the clarity of like okay, these are how I can kind of like build my life and get out of it. And I'm starting to like really feel like okay, I can make some ambitious predictions, right? And like I remember at the I said in a couple earlier videos of what I wanted, right? And some things I put down was that by the end of the year, I want to have like a financial foundation, so like I am making money on a steadily consistent basis through my online income and through efforts, where I can put a lot of time into focusing on the craft of writing. And I realize, so this year actually it's a lot of sort of like maintenance work. Like I was the last day ended today. I was doing school and I was like, God, I don't want to do this. But then it was like remembering Oni, like you have to do one more year of this and then you don't have to do it for the rest of your life. Like you just have to finish all these basic courses, these upper level whatever, to get this liberal arts whatever degree. And like it's kind of part of my plan B, but it's also part of my plan A because I just want to get a bachelor's degree. Like I've always wanted to just have one and be like it's a bachelor's degree. I finished my 4-year college. And I know that like especially if I did it, it would be like yeah, like I had help definitely through that degree. My mom definitely funded and stuff, but like a majority of it, definitely like I funded it and I took care of it and I made it happen. Right. And like it was happening through my efforts and definitely through my focus. And like it wasn't given to me. And like it's been a struggle. Like if I get that degree, I'll be 32. Right. That's like 14 years. In 2017, that'll be after I got started in 2007. That'll be 14 years. That's literally post secondary school. There are kids, right, that started school in kindergarten and will be in college and were in college in the time that it took me to get my bachelor's degree. That is not a great feeling. That is not a great feeling at all. For someone who's always prided themselves on being quick and ahead, I feel extraordinarily behind. And that's a feeling that I've fought for a long, long time. Just like always feeling behind. And I realized that like that's something I think a lot of people are going to deal with and go through. And I guess, I mean, if anyone actually ends up watching this, I just want to say like it's okay to feel behind. I don't necessarily mean that okay means great or whatever, but you won't die and life goes on, you know? And I think a part of me is telling myself like not to be disappointed. I recognize now looking back kind of how that happened. And there was definitely a lot of mistakes and things I could have done differently. But I realized looking back, I was doing the very best I can. I can say that about my life. And that's something that other than like about a 2 year period where I made just a really just a year period actually, where I just made a tremendous mistake and wasn't living true to myself. I honestly can say outside of that I have done my absolute best and I've always tried to do better for myself and by the people I care about. Um, I feel like this year, I think, well, in coming to New York, I realized there's like a corrosive effect. I realize whenever I go back to Utah, and I recognize when I came back for my mission, if I had just not gone home, I think I would have done a lot better. Like it's crazy to me, but I'm realizing like so much of like the mistakes were going back. And like when I left Utah, when I left Houston, I went to Houston, that was the time in my life. Like I think the things that I'm doing now, that was back in 2015. I think I'm back basically where I was then. Like I'm doing essentially the same things was and could have been doing then. Um, but I wasn't ready for the things and the things I wanted. And I'm much more ambitious now. Like I want much more from my life now, um, as an author and like just my understanding and like my possibilities and the skill sets. Like I'm much more equipped to get what I wanted then now. And I want bigger, greater things. But I realized there was a long process to learning a lot of skills of things that I wanted and I thought I understood. And I basically the last half decade, which is crazy to say, um, but the last half decade really has just been like a giant learning roller coaster of saying like, hey, you want all these things? Well, here's the type of person you need to be, and then basically life showing you in every single way you're not that guy, and that has been extremely humbling and super. I don't know if discouraging is the word, but it's been very disheartening. And I've had to really reduce and check my ego and, recognize that, yeah, there were some times like I was really plain narcissistic and I wasn't as developed. And recognizing that lack of development wasn't necessarily even my fault. But I think it's just kind of putting your ducks in a row and getting the rocks out of your shoe and, doing first things first. And, I was trying to, be rich and start a family and do all these crazy things when it's like I didn't even have like my basic needs for attention met. I didn't know how to like truly bond and feel loved by another person. Like there were so many just like super basic emotional things that I didn't have, but I kept thinking I had. And that was the issue, was that I was creating, it's not that my plans or my desires were incorrect, but it was that I was placing them on a false foundation that wasn't there. And I think so many of the failings we have in our life, I think happen as a result of that. And that's why, we do fail. And that's what's the great part about it, is that you go through these things and you fall through the cracks so you can see where the cracks are. And then that gives you the opportunity to fill them. And, as I'm setting out, kind of hitting my discipline and like my goals and stuff, I'm like, okay, I can feel like I'm stepping on sort of like tentative ground, and I'm like checking the ice. And there's a hesitation, there's a bit of a tentativeness, as I'm kind of moving out there, but I'm still like, I'm still moving. Like I'm only, for God's sakes, I'll always go, right? And what's interesting though is like there's difference. Like I can feel the firmness in my foundation, and like the assuredness, and like the decisiveness, and the resolve. The resolution's much different. And I can feel that in myself, right? And just like I'm starting to see like the gates are opening again, right? As I'm being true and kind of getting back to the root of things, and just staying centered on those things that are really important. And I think that's been absolutely critical to sort of the success I've had and the success that's to come. And I think like this is going to be an incredible year, because 2020 was a really incredible year. 2019, I think, was the year where I was really like, I kind of had to like really face things. I look back and I'm like, man, like why does, like what were all those years, right? 2015 I think was a really good year, but in 2015 I made a really really big mistake. Um I broke my word on a promise that I made, and I think so much comes when you don't follow the principles you know are right. And I justified it and did all this, but I think because I identified, because I broke that one promise, so many other things fell apart. And I was like, well, why did I break that promise? Why did I make that decision, right? Because that was not a good decision to make. And all these things that came of it, and it suddenly exposed me, and I learned. I had to really learn that, okay, I was kind of insecure here, and like I felt really empty here. And of course, these things could have happened, and probably faster and better had I kept my word, because I do think there's a power to just keeping true principles. True meaning that they are beneficial and they work within goodwill, right? And I think had I made a decision that was in goodwill, I would have learned these lessons faster and more efficiently. And because I made such a fundamental break in truth by not keeping my word and changing my mind and going against what I wanted, because I wanted to stay, but it was because all these other forces were acting on me, and there was all this insecurity and like just weakness. It was just straight weakness. And I made a decision based off of that weakness. And then because of that, I went into this like tumble, this complete free fall. And I realized the issue is I did not have the support networks. And I'd always been aware of that before. I'd always been aware I don't have these support networks, which is why I think, especially up to the point when I was 25, like I look at myself at that age and I'm realizing, okay, I was actually punching above my weight, because I did not have the support I thought I did. And I was definitely an exception in a lot of ways then, right? And it was because I made decisions based off of my heart, and I was being true. And then one instance where I didn't follow and do what I knew was right. And then that followed by another. And then literally two decisions made within like the same week, like really the same month, that like I spent half a decade repairing myself from those. Like that, I think that's what happens when you go against your nature. And I realize there's a lot of people who are in these free falls and these tumbles forever. And I realized like 2020 was like the first time I was able to get my head out of that free fall, right? And it was really like the end of 2020 where I was just really kind of realizing like, okay, I'm not in this free fall anymore. And after I had a friend died, and then another that I knew went to jail, and like it was all these crazy stuff. And that was just this big like eye-opening moment, like I'm not in that tumble anymore, and I don't have to be in that tumble. And that was like a really big eye-opening experience. And then because and I had this amazing girlfriend, and it was just like I had all these things, but then I realized even still I was making all these decisions based off of this person who was in this free tumble. And I was like, I'm not that guy anymore, though. I'm not in repair mode anymore. And so, that's why I ultimately ended the relationship, because I needed to start making decisions based off of, you know, back based off of a healthy not healthy person, but I'm saying like when you're sick and you need to be in the hospital, you lay around all day and you drink fluids. That's good for you, right? But then let's say you're not necessarily sick. If you lay in bed all day, that'll actually make you sick. Sometimes then it's getting out and being active. And it's recognizing like what's good for you is going to be different at different points in your life. And I realized I'd come to this point where I had convalesced and recovered enough that I ultimately could like kind of take these big brave steps forward. And that was super key. And I mean, it's been kind of a month, and it feels like I can't believe it's only been like 3.5 weeks since I broke up with my girlfriend. It feels like it's been so long. It feels like it's been like 2 3 months. So part of me is like, okay, like my timeline's beginning to extend again, and that tells me that okay, I'm doing something hard and I'm facing challenges every day, and there's sort of like this mountain I'm climbing, and my focus is being brought to bear. And that was like definitely the latter half of 2020 and like the first bat of 2020 really felt like that, but the last half of 2020 just kind of flew by, and because I was just like in this haze, right? And it was just so much like emotional, it was just really emotional. But then the first half of 2020, like there was so much going on, I was thinking, I was making all these decisions, and it just was very elongated, and there was a lot of life lived in those first 6 months. And then like the last 4 months was really good in a lot of ways, but I think there was a lot of stagnation. And it was just really vital for me, I think, to just kind of take the step out of that. And that was something that was really huge in seeing like, okay, I've actually come and made a big difference in that. So that was something that was super huge and key for me. And so, I'm kind of recording this journey, and it's been kind of intense, recording it. And definitely, like, you know, whoever can make a decision like that, it's going to be really fun. I also had an idea for if I ever become big, right? Um, and so I think this is day 16. I'm looking at the day 16 now. So if this ever becomes, I'm going to use this, right? But I was thinking about Ready Player One, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if someone actually like had a contest like that? And I'm sure like maybe there's some entrepreneurs or whatever who do, but I don't know or anyone, or I can't think of anyone who's really well done who's doing like a large contest like that, kind of like a golden ticket contest or whatever. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do that, like a trivia kind of contest, and then, give like a large cash prize and like, advertise it and let it go out there. And basically be like, maybe like the first day's profits on like a project, I'll give to the contest winner who does something like that. So I actually, this is it. Like, if this is actually happening, this is the video that I'm putting it out there. And so you'll want to look at the Instagram posts today because that's going to be the Easter egg for something I'm going to use. And it's going to be day 16 of Operation Thunderhead. And yeah, I think I'm I'm super excited because there's just there's just so much, I think, possibilities with all the different things. And I'm realizing like there's a really beautiful life happening. And there's a part of me when I look back, I'm like, and I think back of like Mr. Reference and Dharma and like Kayani and the O2 company, and going for that first run of the Girl and the Beast. Even though I don't necessarily call that a failure, but I've just had so many failed projects and things that I'm trying to do and get off the ground. And part of me is just, and I've always come back to the Girl and the Beast, which has been really grateful because I've always wanted to be a writer and I've been consistent with that. And so I feel like basing my future decisions around that fundamentally have been really good. And then, my goal is to take the momentum that I gain from here into anything else. And I mean, I have a lot of good momentum today. I just got to finish this video. I did piano. I did my first 3 work sessions read a book that was actually pretty good, and I was excited. I went and worked out. And so it's just about carrying that momentum. And I'm kind of just talking through my mind and trying to just get through this. And you know what's funny? I remember I wanted to start a vlog when I was 19, and the first day of the vlog, the camera broke. And I always thought that was indicative of maybe like my growth or whatever, but I realize I'm now at the point where I can make a blog or vlog and it'll go. And right now with school and everything, I was actually thinking like I'm so overwhelmed that I feel like can I really do this? Is any of this any even worthwhile? Then I just have the decision. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Yeah, I'm not going to think about if it's working. I'm not going to worry about even the results anymore. Like for me, success is just doing it. Even if I do it poorly, I'm like, okay, if I can do it poorly, then I can do it well, right? But you have to do it, right? And so, I'm writing, I'm drawing, I'm playing piano, I'm reading books, and I'm just going to keep going and grinding. And then the idea is that eventually, you know what? My capacity is going to grow. And eventually, what's so difficult and like my time management in my head and my ability to focus that's so struggling and difficult now, it'll just come together. And then I sometimes there's a part of me that worries about burnout or whatever. And that's what I have my Saturdays for. But today I actually made the decision and I need to keep this. I realized I just need to keep my sleeping schedule because even like on Saturdays when I'm like, oh yeah, no, let's stay up late or whatever, it's fun or whatever. But then I just disrupt my sleeping schedule and it's just a pain to get it back on. And honestly, for the next couple months or whatever, my focus just needs to be on getting the Girl and the Beast finished. Like that is my goal. Like just finish that book series. And then like if I finish that book series, I'll just I just feel so good. Just it's gonna feel so good just to be like, I finished it. Finally flipping finished it. And of course, obviously with popular demand and stuff like that. And I mean there's still like the Chronicles, so there's gonna be probably two other books of tales in between the Chronicles of the Girl and the Beast. And I'm literally writing in two parts of the story where there's these time skips. So I'll have to fill in the Chronicles, like just these random stories to kind of fill in those time gaps. And that'll kind of give you plenty of time for some setups before and after events and some really cool things. And you know there's always potential for like television and stuff like that with the Girl and the Beast. And like my goal, so just so you heard it here first, my goals with the Girl and the Beast, 3 years from now it's a Netflix series, an anime series on Netflix or whatever. Like that's my goal, 3 years from now. So what's this, 2021? By the end of 2024, Girl and the Beast on Netflix. Girl and the Beast on Netflix, 12 episode series. Yeah, 12 episode series, 12 episodes, maybe 10 episodes. No, 12 episodes. And that'll cover like like the first third, maybe the first book. No, the first book. You could do that in like a couple episodes. The first 12 episodes would cover actually probably the first two compendiums, right? So volume 1 through volume 5 is probably what those first episodes would cost, which would be a really crazy play. And then you need to have a season 2, and the season 2 would cover book 6 and 7. Then you'd have season 3, right? And no, you'd have 7. You'd have the third compendium would be a whole other season, because the third compendium, that's just going to be wild, and it's going to be crazy, off the chain, crazy. BB and Lucy getting up to all types of trouble. But then volume 4 and 5, that could probably finish off the season. So you get like Girl and the Beast, 30 episodes. Damn, finish the series out. Whole thing, that's the goal. Girl and the Beast, 30 episodes. Netflix special. Wildin', winning awards, people loving it, inspiring others to start making their own little light novel, American light novel, sell them on Amazon. It'd be sweet. That's actually what inspired The Girl and the Beast. It was a light novel adaptation. Because I was like, why don't we have light novels here in the US? I mean, we do, but they're very like manga sized. So I was just like, I feel like we should like have light novels, but like they shouldn't always necessarily be like towards that like the Japanese animation. Like site, but like maybe just like a regular YA novel or whatever. But I mean, then it's a YA novel, so whatever. It's serialized though, which is what I love about it. And so, anyway, I've been rambling for 25 minutes. It's gonna be a miracle if anyone watches these. And, I realize I'm like, why am I doing these for watch time? But I realize it's just doing it, and I'll always have on record and be able to pull it back. And maybe one day I'll be sad, or I'll just want to look back and just see how far I've come. And I just want to say, Futuroni, you had like a damn near perfect day, and you did it. You did it. And yeah, just keep going, man. Keep going. You're going to get better at this. Remember, if you can do it poorly, you can do it well. And every suck leads to success. So, I'm proud of you. Keep going. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. Just keep going. It'll all work out. I mean, how? I have no idea what it's going to look like. But right now, you're taking the steps. I promise you, man. So, notice that this guy right now did the work. The guy in the future, keep doing the work, all right? All right. Now, you have a good day. And anybody else who sees this, do the work. You're worth it. Peace.